and abstract motion are the bases for all existence.
And these three are one. In Hinduism, it's thought of as the great breath. So the non-existent one, which is that undifferentiated, unspeakable space, has now become the existent one, because now we can say something about it. You see, it has three aspects. It has subjective, objective, and motion. There's something to say and to consider with our human minds. But it is still one. It isn't stuff yet, in our sense of the word stuff. It isn't thingness yet. Now those three realities, or aspects of reality, subjective, objective, and the tension between them or motion, do not arrive sequentially. I've had to do it that way, and we've done it that way on the diagram, haven't we? First showing one, then the other, and then the third term. They don't come into existence that way because they're an indivisible unity. They spring from the unmanifested one to the existent or manifested three in one at once, because they are not divisible. It's not dual, it's polar. Furthermore, that polarity does not take place as two dots, as we've shown on the screen, one here and one there. Rather, that polarity takes place at every point in the universe, at every point in that vast space. And when it happens, the entire space is brought into vibrant motion, so that the whole of it is revealing itself as these three aspects, subjective, objective, and now the reality of the whole thing from our point of view, motion, which is sometimes called life. There isn't any life without motion, is there? Interesting thing to consider. Now a simple example might show how that can be. That is how three aspects can be indivisible in one unity. If we take a bar magnet with which everyone is familiar, and we let the north pole of that magnet represent the subjective side, or the subjective pole of reality, and we let the south pole represent the objective side of reality, and then we take the force field, which we see between the poles when we put iron filings, don't we, near the magnet. If we let that force field represent motion, then we will have an analogy of how the secret doctrine sees this unity in the triplicity. Now let us say that we didn't know any better and we thought we'd like to have a north pole in one hand and a south pole in the other. We would break the magnet, wouldn't we? And we'd say, now I have a north pole and now I have a south pole. But you know it isn't possible, don't you? The minute you break it in half, you have another magnet here and one here. You have two magnets now, because you can't have the North Pole without the South Pole. So you see, there can be such a thing as a triplicity, which is yet a unity. All are present at every level of existence. It's a fundamental reality to which we don't usually put our minds. It's so fundamental that it escapes us. Everything is conscious. Everything moves. Everything is substantive. This is true, it's said in the secret doctrine, from the deepest level, from the most interior levels to the most exterior levels. So all three of those aspects are present in an archangel and in an ant. They're present in a galaxy and in a grain of sand. There cannot be, according to the secret doctrine, consciousness without substance and motion. There cannot be substance or matter without consciousness and motion. Nor can there be motion without consciousness and substance. These three are one. And they're in everything. Now, this eternal reality then has become the existent. Non-existent space has become existent space with this polarization process. Now you might say, well, that's all very interesting theory, maybe kind of fascinating, but what, still I want to know, what does it have to do with me? what does it have to do with daily life? This idea of infinite space, which is the ground of being according to the secret doctrine. Rather than try to make a vain attempt to answer such a complex question, I would like you to do a little experiment, a very simple one which you can all do easily in your own minds. To begin with, let's consider the fact that this infinite space about which we've been talking is a far greater part of reality than the world with which we're familiar. I don't think we often think about that, do you? We don't stop to think that there's more space in the universe than there is substance. We don't stop to think that atomically our physical body is more space than substance. We really don't think about it. Oh, we know it because we've been told that by the science teacher in school. But it's a fact, isn't it, nonetheless, that we're more space than substance. And so in this exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to imagine, use our creative imagination and imagine that we're expanding into space. But more importantly, that we are the space. We identify with the stuff, you see, all the time, don't we? Let's identify for a change with the space, which is the greater part of us. Be the space. May I suggest that by identifying with space, the space of your body and the space of the universe, you have moved a little closer to the source of your own being. If you were able to do it even slightly, your mind became quieter, didn't it? Your emotions became more tranquil. And isn't that of enormous value to your personal life? By simply turning your whole attention to that most abstract principle, space, and identifying with it, you can bring that unspeakable peace that passes understanding into your own hearts here and now.